Hello, and welcome back to Tiny Artist TV. For today's video, we are doing the final character in our magical heroes and villains lineup. And then after this, I'll be breaking down the characters into sets of 3 just to move a little quicker through these 115 characters that I'm trying to design based on randomly generated color palettes that I've collected over the past few years. So if you're good at math, or if you've been keeping up with my videos, you will know that today's character is a villain. Today's color palette is kind of dark and dramatic, and I'm actually able to get the character out pretty quickly with this one, so this might be a pretty short final video, but let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, we are just jumping right in. I don't know what possessed me. Maybe it's because I really like working with color palettes like this, and I don't do it often because I do like to have a nice breadth of colors in artwork that I'm presenting, but Gothic art holds a soft spot in my heart too. And so for this particular character, I had in mind this kind of Queen of Broken Hearts kind of look that I was going for, with the 3 of Swords representing, according to Wikipedia, because I'm not into tarot, but I do like the aesthetic of some of the cards. The 3 of Swords represents a fundamentally sorrowful experience, maybe a form of a lost relationship, an accidental death, or just some other form of depression or malaise, but is deeply emotional sorrow. And then all of the other elements just kind of fell into place, and I wanted to give more elements that read as like magical villain, and so I give her this batwing cane, and she has this mysterious letter that she's holding, and yeah, everything kind of fell into place in this fugue state. It probably also helps that overall the character outer design, the sketch, appears to be a pretty simple silhouette, especially compared to the magical heroes who have just like so much in their costuming and the hair and the weapons, and the villains have been relatively simple in comparison, and that's mainly because with the heroes, their fashion statements are much more bold and ambitious anyway, and then the villains' fashion inspirations are typically more subdued, with the exception of avant-garde, where this character, the heavy lifting is going to come in is in the coloring, because I'm planning on doing lace and patterning. And then of course I also have to render all of the jewels that I'm planning on adding to her costume. And then there's a bunch of flowers everywhere, so all of those need to have details put in, and it's just, yeah, it's a lot, but it's a lot that I like to do, so it'll be easy for me to handle. Don't worry about my sanity, I'm okay. I'm fully aware that this may not be the most historically accurate piecing together of this particular type of dress, but I'm not super concerned about that for 2 reasons. The main reason being I just wanted this to look good, and I just wanted to be able to costume this character, and again, kind of as far as the villains are concerned, in an over-the-top way that still reads as something that is recognizable as far as an era. The second reason being, as a Saturday morning cartoon magical villain, the laws of traditional costuming do not apply to her, so I basically just reference whatever pieces are in my mental library, going from movies, book art, bad Party City Halloween costumes, and go into the line art and create this. With this color layout, I actually wanted to use that darkest color a little bit more, but it's not black. It's like a really dark chocolate, as you can see as I'm putting the gradients on the dress, and I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot by doing this before I've truly cleaned anything up. but this is just to kind of help me lay out where I want some of my patterns to go. And that gray lace isn't even going to be a full like solid applique. That's going to have cutouts in it. I have so much work to do on this costume before it gets to where I want it to be. But yeah, so instead of that dark black, of course, well, it's not black, the dark chocolate, I end up using that for her hair, which is fine. But for the areas that I initially want it to be more of a black, I end up using this like dark smoky gray instead, which still reads, overall I just wanted it to be kind of like dark and dramatic. Because again, this is my fashion inspiration for this is just kind of the dark romance mix of like Renaissance, Elizabethan, just, you know, what you would think of if you were walking through like a vampire's castle or something. So yeah, it's fine that it's not like a black because it still reads dark, and it's a pretty monotone color palette. But I had no trouble breaking up the areas of solid color with the lightest color, which is that like super light powdery pink. Once I start adding in the hundreds and hundreds of pearls, all of the jewelry, I use the same trick that I used when I was doing the sprinkles with my strawberry milkshake confetti cannon girl, where I create a new layer and do the auto outline action. And I've used this a few times with a couple of different characters, but I really needed it for this character. So I do that with the lace like I'm doing now, but then of course I also do it with the pearls. So instead of doing what I had said earlier and rendering them, I'm placing in all these little dots and decorations on their own layer, which is just a really nice quick way, instead of me having to physically draw and fill all of these pearls and jewels, I can just create a new layer, have it do the auto outline, and just keep drawing. This makeup was inspired by a very specific type of goth makeup, and I don't know what it's called, so I couldn't find a really good reference to show you guys, but it's this very stylized makeup where typically you would powder your entire face white, shave off or glue down your eyebrows, and then draw them higher and really exaggerate the shapes and colors that are happening on the face. So I wanted to do that because I really like the way it looks and thought that it fit well with this type of character. It's very dramatic, over the top styling. Other than that, I really don't know what to say about this character. It, from this point, is just a lot of me messing around with pearl placement and messing with the lace a little bit, and then figuring out the patterning on the dress. I go through about 3 different iterations of the pattern, and I leave most of that in, but there's some that just like completely didn't work, and so there was no point in me showing you that process. But I leave in enough that you can kind of see through my thought process of figuring out how I wanted to design the bottom of the dress. And I have this sketch here where initially I wanted to do a layer of lace on the bottom, and that just ended up not working with the lace brushes that I had, and then I thought about hand drawing it and that still didn't work. So I ended up going with this kind of broken heart leaf motif that I really like. So I also end up including it on her cane as well, and to kind of have the design trail down from the falling rose petals down to the broken heart leaves. The spiral on the cane, it starts out with these kind of dot petal shapes and then spirals down into the full leaf broken heart shape towards the bottom to mimic what's happening within the character from the top to the bottom, so everything just kind of lines up visually. And I am really pleased with the way this character turned out. I'm glad that I was able to end this series strong, and lining all of the characters up, I was able to see a clear progression in not only quality of work but quality of ideas. I do feel like there were a couple of like near misses within the series, but overall this is definitely one of the strongest looks in the collection, and so again, I'm glad I was able to go out with a little bit of a bang as opposed to a whimper. So that's it, folks. This concludes the heroes and villains portion of the 115 character color palette challenge on my channel. I hope you have enjoyed this mini-series and look forward to what's next to come. I know I certainly am. I've got some big plans, and I hope you'll stick along with me. But until then, thanks for tuning in, and have a weird day.